here are the top 5 classes you can use for Arcane Conquest when soloing. The bottom one in the list right here is the Paladin. Now, the Paladin isn't as really good for solos. It is mainly focused for teams, but it can heal pretty well. So basically, if you're going to solo, do not pick Paladin. It's not really good. It's not the skill that you want to use. Even though it's the best one for healing, it's not really good because Paladin doesn't really work out for soloing. But if you're going to play on teams, maybe Paladin will work out. So, Paladin doesn't work out for soloing, but let's go to a class that is 4th on the list, but that can actually freaking solo. Number 4 we have is the Champion. Now, the Champion is pretty good with damage. Now, I do have an unfortunate bad set here. The problem is, the damage or the range of this class is the definition of garbage. It is really bad. Like, the range of it is non-existent. If you are a person who's used to high range, do not play the Champion class. But it's still a class that can still do decent damage. I might even swap this, swap it with the Paladin rank. Just this class sucks overall. And it's not really a class that many people like. Its range just needs a massive buff. So yeah, that's what we have for the number 4 ranking. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the number 3 spot. For number 3 is we have the Anarchist. Now, the Anarchist, I honestly just think it's kind of like a worse version of Elementalist. You kind of use the spells. I did actually try looking around on how well this class works because I don't main it. But it doesn't seem to have like any special perks or anything that really separates it apart from other classes. It seems to be a little bit more bulky than the Elementalist class, but it still doesn't seem to be anything too crazy, and it's pretty just nice to use damage spells overall. I just think this is just another version of basically the Elementalist, but basically with different kinds of spells and a little bit of different gameplay. So if you want to use this one, just go ahead. But honestly, I think number 2 is just played pretty much the same, and it's better. Which the number 2 class that we have on this list is. For the number 2 class for soloing, we have the Elementalist. The Elementalist is a great class. It excels on a lot of stuff, but it is not the best class for soloing. Even though it has pretty nice damage, it has a pretty substantial range out of Arcane Conquest classes, and has incredible mobility because its skill points go towards stash, and honestly the stash is just super useful overall. I feel like the Elementalist is not the best class for soloing, but I feel like second best is the proper placement. And if you don't like the final class on this list, then I feel Elementalist could be your pick to go. Honestly, it is pretty good at damage overall and range, and something, if you're coming from Dungeon Quest, a class that you could actually get used to easily with the little speeds and just the regular spells with a decent amount of range. Now that was for number 2. Now let's move on to number 1. For the number 1 spot we have is the Shadowmancer. The Shadowmancer is definitely the best character if you want to solo, but it's definitely one of the more difficult ones because you actually lose health on using the stronger abilities. So it's definitely the best class if you want to focus on solo. So if you're going to plan to play this on your own or try to beat the game on your own, try to go Shadowmancer. Or if you can't, feel free to pick the number 2 option or the number 3 option on this video. This mob or basically class consists on dealing a ton of damage, but at the cost of sacrificing part of its HP. That's what makes it so good, and if you can dodge, then you'll be good to go. The only cost is, if you don't know how to dodge, Shadowmancer is not for you. So if you're new to these dungeon experiences, which probably most of my viewers aren't, Basically, do not use Shadowmancer or use Shadowmancer if you think you're experienced enough. It really depends, whatever you think. Now, that is for the number 1 class. There you have it. The top 5 classes for soloing. This was gotten from a lot of people that were level 50 plus. I did ask a lot of level 50 plus. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. YouTube says you'll like this video right over here. And waddle out, my friends.